Hi everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join our webinar on KTern 101, Automated Test Management for S/4HANA Migration. My name is Kirtan and I'm the Portfolio Manager for KTern, the all-in-one product for S/4HANA conversions designed to automate and manage system conversions from start to finish. A few things to note before we get started. We'll be sending out a link to the recording of the webinar to whoever who has registered. It will also be available on our website at a later point in time. All participants have been muted upon entry, so please ask your questions via the questions tab and we'll address them at the end of the webinar. The speaker for today's webinar is Vignesh Barni. He is a product engineer and champion of KTern and will run through a demo of the product today. In this webinar, we'll give you an overview of S/4HANA conversion path and challenges, the testing strategy for S/4HANA, and the test management capabilities of KTern. Finally, we'll walk you through a demo of KTern with respect to the test suite. Now, without further ado, I'll hand over the webinar to Vignesh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Vignesh, one of the product engineers in KTern. Thanks, Ketan. So let's get started. Yeah, so the agenda for today would be SAP conversion path and challenges, a recap of the previous webinar, a KTern overview, testing in S/4HANA projects and how it is being managed, and how can KTern, the entire product suite for KTern, help in this, and followed by a KTern demo. So typically, let's talk about S/4HANA. We do know S/4HANA follows this activate methodology where we would be talking about different things at different points of time. During Discover, it will be SAP readiness check, effort estimation, the roadmap mapping, getting the value of S/4HANA, what are the business benefits of S/4HANA and stuff. While it is prepared, it is creating of a project team, the project plan, the preparation of the charters, etc. When it is explored, that's when we would start with a sandbox conversion, try experimenting with how the system is behaving with respect to the some or DMO migrations, and we will finalize the cutover checklists. And during realize, we kick off the custom code remediation, followed by one main part, the testing, where it is perhaps the longest and the hardest phase of any project management, and we'll talk about it solely in this webinar as the slides follow. Next would be the deploy phase where we'll be doing the final cutover and the production run and probably run, which is a hypercare support or optimization potentials which we can explore on. So this is typically how SAP S/4HANA conversion projects takes place. And we had a survey and we had interesting answers, perhaps expected answers on what they feel as a challenge when they move to S/4HANA and what is the process which is kind of going to be a challenge or poses as a challenge to the end customers as well as the system integrators. If you could see in the slide, I hope my screen is visible, 60% of them said custom code management is a major challenge and a bottleneck. Yes, it is right. And KTern has got a magic recipe for that as well in the coming webinars. 50% has said test management. Yes, which is why we are here running automated test management using KTern webinar. The end user training, the business downtime, and the data management are the other challenges which the survey attendees face during this particular questionnaire. So, yeah. So let's talk about the SAP S/4HANA assessment using KTern, which was done in the previous webinar. This is the second part of the webinar series, and the previous part was impact analysis using KTern. So this typically covers the discover part, the value realization, the business value which S/4HANA brings to KTern, brings to an enterprise, and that's exactly what KTern would do. It will try to connect to your system. It goes beyond the standard parameters and results. It tries to identify your business value, your business KPIs, and what would go wrong, what would not, who should be the stakeholders, who should be not, how should the testing happen, when should it happen, who should do that, and how should they do that. All these results will be given up to you by KTern even before the start of the project so that you can kick off your S4HANA transformation or migration with sheer confidence. So as you can see in the slide, we configure the system and help you analyze what could be the previous conversion projects which you can take care of, like cleaning up the master data inconsistencies, or going with the CVI integrations and things like that. And we provide the results which is focusing on the end state, the S4HANA, since because we are talking about a beautiful dream to the S4HANA digital core, since because it is a dream for any enterprise to get into this digital core and transform their enterprise technically, functionally, as well as technologically. And we at KTern will provide you a collaborative lab to chisel out your digital transformation plan so that you can have it the S4HANA way, the beautiful S4HANA way. And so let's talk about the perfect tool set. Let's talk about KTern, the perfect tool set for entire S4HANA conversion. So KTern is an inbuilt AI-driven engine which has got 12 main modules, and these 12 main modules act as the core for the entire conversion project. Why would I call that? Since because it is an all-in-one suite, which is for the product suite and for the conversion. The X factor would be because it is driven by the experience of the SAP consultants who've been in SAP projects for so many years. And we have built an inbuilt data-driven engine called S4HANA PDR, and which is why KTern is able to automate certain things and provide you things which are predictable in nature and which is totally proactive. And we have built KTern upon a product management framework, which will take care of the management and the collaboration part, like assigning tasks, having discussions, creating workflows, mail triggers, and stuff like that. So typically, when we take a project, we have a huge set of silos of tools, the Excel sheet, the planner, the shared drives, and stuff like that. KTern brings everything in one place. You want to plan your project, you have a planner. When you want to load your files, you have the files explorer, things like that. And obviously we got it qualified with SAP so that it is available for the SAP solution. So let's move on to the next one, where we'll be covering the modules of KTern. Like I said, KTern is an all-in-one suite which comes up with 12 main modules: the impact analysis, the roadmap guide, the effort estimation, the custom code management, the test suite, the data management, the project management, license audit and optimization, landscape and system management, business process optimization, training launchpad, and finally issue tracking and management. And I believe these would be the modules which will come in and out or intermittently or maybe throughout the entire project to support your S4HANA conversion. Yeah. So while we talk, I believe there will be a poll coming up on your screen now. And the poll question would be, what do you think is the key challenge in S4HANA testing? Since because we're talking about testing, what do you think is the key challenge in S4HANA testing? And the options are absence of a solid test case repository to look up for the test cases, unavailability of business process documents, or unavailability of powerful testing tools. Uh, Thank you, gentlemen, for the polls. And the poll results are looks like unavailability of business process documents is the main reason for, I mean, is one of the major challenges in testing. Yes, obviously. So let's see how KTern comes up with a standard test case recommendation and a business process master list so that you can get prepared for your conversion. Yeah. Moving on to the next slide. So this is what testing in S/4HANA project looks like. During project preparation, we would be focusing on scoping of the testing and how it has to happen. If not a plan, at least a strategy on how to do that. Because when we get into the realization, you can see it is testing, testing, and only testing. And during blueprint, we'll be identifying the testing scope, the criticality of the business processes, and the stakeholders who need to be part of this particular test plan and the testing tools to be finalized. So during the realization, we get into the actual interesting part. We'll be having the unit testing done by the business IT consultants and the integration testing or the end-to-end testing, and they'll be done by the IT SMEs. So when it gets to the quality conversion, we'll be having the actual business users doing the testing, which we call it as the user acceptance testing. And during these blocks of different kinds of testing, we got to make sure how the chain follows. One test case being tested against different environments with the same kind of script and with the execution logs captured against each execution and have it handed to the business user who will feel comfortable about, yes, this has been tested in different environments and by different people before coming to me. So that is exactly what testing is all about. Uh, we got to make sure we have a strategy followed by a plan, followed by the test case developments or the test case creations. And under each test cases, we might have to come up with the test scripts on how to do the test case, where to click a button, where to enter a field, and things like that. And we got to capture the test case result, the expected test case result, so that the testing team, of course, during a project, the system integrator team aren't the one who will be testing it because it is totally illogical to have someone who doesn't understand the system or the business process to undergo the testing. So there will be a separate testing team working on that. For them to test, we got to make sure we hand over the essential documents like test scripts and the test execution results. Yes, obviously, this doesn't become the responsibility of a system integrator during a project, but still, he's accountable for the phase closures and he's accountable for the defects that come out of testing. And how is it that we're going to manage the defects coming out from these test cases or the which fail? So let's move on to the next slide and see how KTern factor comes in and helps you in test management. I was talking about creating a strategy, identifying the test cases, identifying the stakeholders, and finalizing the sign-offs or who has to sign off what. So for that, KTern comes up with an inbuilt auto test case recommendation, which will help you to understand the business process and get the level of complexity to the connected system using these recommendations, and you can plan your test strategy accordingly. And the identification where we'll be talking about what is a plan, what is a scenario, and what will be the test case, and under the test case, what is the execution script, and what is the instruction step, what is the expected result, things like that. Things like these need to be identified so that you have a smoother way of testing towards the realization phase. So KTern helps you with it by providing you the test cases. It also comes up with something called auto test execution, which means if not all, at least most of the test cases can be auto executed using KTern. We hit the application layer so that the unit testing is taken care of. And obviously, we allow people to load their existing test scripts if they have any. so that they can make use of it for the conversion. And the next thing would be the execution part. So the actual test execution where people might have to come up with defects or come up with discussions on one particular test case. KTern does allow you to do that. And it is also about passing out the test cases so that we hit the entrance or the exit criteria for the sign off for the phase closure. KTern helps you do that by providing you a test lab where you will be able to manage your test execution and the test results, followed by documenting things that happened during the project and passing the test cases and hitting the exit criteria for the entire test plan, so that you can probably call for a sign off on this particular phase, which still can be managed using KTern. Yes. So the challenges in testing would be beyond the poll results, insufficient documentation on the current business process. Configuration owner is not available for the scenario identification because the one who configured has to be part of the scenario identification or the test case identifications. Else it gets harder for the system integrator team to understand the system and come up with the business cases or the test cases required. And the other problem would be higher volume of data sets to be tested, because typically we've seen systems which have got around 102 company codes. So you can imagine the volume and the variety of data sets required for each of the test cases or the test scenarios. And the next thing would be the environment setup, because the environment setup plays a key role in here. Maybe a fully configured environment is the right place to test, but at the height of the conversion projects, there could be human errors where we might be testing in the wrong environment, coming up with failed test cases for almost all of the test plan, which has to be taken care of. And it is also about reducing the effort and time required in the test cost. Because when we automate things, we are reducing the man effort, which is directly proportional to the time as well as the resource. So this is the one which we need to take care of when we talk about testing. So now let me go into the magic part, the KTern demo, so that we can start the screen. Yeah. So we've got KTern now. The screen, I hope the screen is visible. So I will log in, and this is hosted in a public domain so that you will be able to log in and have your screen configured for you. So let me log in the screen right now. So I can have multiple S/4HANA transformation projects, and I have logged in. When I log in, I'll be able to have a workspace, a single workspace for me to manage multiple workloads. It could be the tasks, it could be the issues, and it could be the test cases. And as you can see, I can have multiple test cases mapped for me. So these are the ones which will help the entire productivity of the entire test management. So I can see here, this will be the heart of the entire KTern application, the phase kernel. The phase kernel is the one where the entire activate follows. We'll be talking about the discover phase, the prepare phase, the explore phase, and the realize phase. And this will help you manage your entire life cycle so that it can help you manage your entire project. So as you can see here, we'll be having something called the test case recommendations, which is required for the entire test scenario and the test cycle. So let me go ahead and launch one. And this will get me the test catalog where I'll be able to create a test plan. This could be because we might have to go through the entire test cycle and the test routine. So we'll be able to create a test plan, and I can create a sample test plan in here, and followed by I can have a scenario, since because when we create a plan, we need to make sure we have the possible scenarios under each of the test plans. So we'll be able to create a test scenarios as well. So it could be order to cash, procure to pay, record to report, and things like that. So all these test plans create a hierarchical view of your entire test execution and the test cycle. So followed by we'll be having a test case creation. This test case creation is vital since because we cover the project management attributes as well as the stakeholder information, as well as the plan versus actual information, as well as the references. So if I could see here, it is not just about creating a test case, but also about covering where it comes into, because this is a critical factor for the entire conversion project, because we'll be talking about the phase, we'll be talking about the work package, we'll be talking about the L1s, because this will help you plan your test case properly. If I could see here, I'll be having the development run, since because there could be unit testing happening under the development run. You can create a test case against this particular thing and have the completion of follow-ups as a task L1 for that. And you'll be able to find different plans and different scenarios for each of these test cases. And if I select order to cash, I'll be able to find different scenarios under order to cash. And if it is procure to pay, I'll be able to find different other scenarios for the procure to pay functionality. So let me have one, and I can assign the priority of the test case followed by the stakeholder information. Like I said before during the sliders, it is not about a single stakeholder testing a test case. It is about having multiple people getting involved in a test case. So which means we'll be talking about multiple stakeholders for different for a single test case. So I can have multiple test stakeholders plan, and I can have a role assigned to them. I'll be able to find the users, which means for each of the stakeholders I create, I'll be able to have a planned versus actual dates for each of the stakeholders. If I could see here, I created 5 stakeholders against this particular test case, and I'll be able to have different date and times for each of these stakeholders. It could be the status, the planned versus actual dates, the planned durations, the planned locations, and the planned environment. The references. When it comes to the references, it is about more on the user reporting or the dashboarding purpose, because when we talk about references, we are trying to cover different modules at the different periods of time, because when we talk about the functional testing, it is important that we take care of the functional tests. So KTern will be able to provide you with modules which would have been configured from your system, and it will help you tag a test case under one particular module. So I'll be able to tag it across any other module and the business process as well. And it is all about capturing as many business and technical information against a test case. So as you can see here, I'll be able to capture a transport request with respect to this particular test case, the OASS note with respect to this test case, and the T code it could be involved into, or the rise up objects. If not any of these information, I can also have additional information as well. So this comprehensiveness in against one particular test case will allow industries to have clear track of what should happen, when should happen, and how it should happen. So if I could come here, I can have multiple test cases found under each of these tabs. So let me log into one. So I get into a deep test case wizard, which will be key for the entire test execution part, because this comprehensive wizard page will help you take care of the project management aspect, the test lab aspect, the auto test console, as well as the defects repository. Let's go into each of them one by one. So when we talk about this wizard page, I can see when what was created, how it was created, when it was created, and what is the priority of it, what kind of testing it is, and I'll be able to come up with the test case drawer, which I showed in the previous screen, which will help you create the test case for you, and I can have multiple stakeholders involved in it. So coming down a bit, I see the information which was in the drawer in here. So I can upload a file, which could be the business process document or the test script document, and I can have conversations enabled. I can say, I am testing this. So this will probably trigger a notification, and I can have a chat history against this particular test case. I'll be able to upload new ones and references. When we talk about references, this is quite important when it comes to the test cases, because one test case could link up to a technical object, while there could be that could be a custom code object, and which means when the custom code remediation kicks in, it happens before the test case cycles anyway. But if in case there is no actual dev freeze followed or a hard freeze followed in the particular project, you tend to have different custom code objects coming under each conversion cycles, which means you got to test everything, and everything has to comply with the test cases linked up to this particular custom code object as well. So if I have to explain a little bit more, we can consider a custom code object which is getting impacted while moving to S4HANA. It gets remediated, and there is a test case attached to this particular custom code object, and that gets tested and everything is working fine. So when the mock conversion happens or the pre-conversion happens, due to no hard freeze followed in this particular project, uh, the custom code object changed. And typically, when the custom code remediation happens, the general principle is unit tested, it is working fine. But we got to make sure, we got to remember that that particular custom code object is linked up to this particular test case, which means this test case should also be retested so that we can be clear that the production conversion happens smooth, and post go live everything happens the normal way or the as-is way. So it is important to have the test cases linked up to the custom code objects we are working on, so that we can have clear track of what is getting remediated and what is getting changed at different intervals of the project. And it is also about transport of TRs, the OSS nodes involved, the T codes involved, and stuff like. And you can also link up multiple work items or have an event discussed to this particular thing. Imagine a test case scenario where you are linking your ECC with your CRM or SRM system, and those kind of test cases play a huge role, because the message or document posting from one system to other defines the criticality of the entire business process. So if that test case fails, it leads up to severe consequences in the entire project. So we got to make sure and have a meeting specific to this particular test case item, which KTern allows you to do. And it is also about linking up multiple wiki or nodes with respect to those things. Maybe a documentation on how to do this, or when to do that, and what are the expected results. So the next thing would be the test lab. So test lab is the one which helps you have your scripting and execution. As you can see here, I can have two test lab items. One is test script, the other is test execution log. So if I click test script, I get a different kind of view where I'll be able to add a new sample test script. And this test script could be linked up to the environments which I configure in my project. So I can have multiple environments. So I plan to test this in this particular environment. Remember, the environment plays a key role in here because at the height of your entire conversion projects, you will be having your mainline ECC production systems, as well as the subline of S/4HANA systems, as well as copies of your production, which means you're dealing with multiple systems and multiple environments in here, each with different configuration parameters, which means the environment which has to be tested should be tested, and it shouldn't be some other environment. So I can have multiple step items because no test case has a single step. It goes through multiple steps in here. So I can have login. So I'll be able to say log into the system, and the expected results could be you will be logged in. You can have it as a listicle, or you can also upload an image against this particular execution item, so that a screenshot could also be provided. Likewise, you'll be able to add multiple steps against this particular test script to be followed. So once I click submit, I'll be able to have a test case against this particular test script. And it's not just that, it is also about the test execution log, which means I'll be able to create a test execution log against this particular test script which I created. And I can have an execution title, and I can have an actual environment plan. I can also have the test scripts against this. And it is not just that, I'll be able to add a new defect as well. I can say defect name, I can assign an owner, and I can also assign the plan, this actual date for this defect to be completed. And the auto test console. The auto test console is the most important part here, since because we'll be able to auto execute items against a test case, so that you can have a comprehensive view of your unit testing done automatically. Typically what we would do is that we will hit the application layer of your entire system so that the auto execution kicks in. And the next thing would be the defects repository, since because when we talk about issues and test cases, we are dealing with defects. So when test cases tend to fail, we got to make sure a defect has to be linked to it. So you can click in here, which will which will create an issue, and you can probably say what the issue is and what is the description of that issue and what is that issue type. Was it with respect to the configuration or authorization data or etc. And you can probably have it raised to SAP and have your incident number attached in here, and you can probably have the stakeholder information recorded. The plan versus actual can be recorded as well. And there could be multiple other references which you can create with respect to this issue alone, which is linked to this particular test case. So you can be clear of what test cases failed and what are the defects created and what is the life cycle of that particular defect. It is not just that, KTern helps you document the entire test case which happened pertaining to this particular project alongside the attachments as well. With this download report button, you'll be able to get an auto documentation done on these information loaded into KTern, so that you get an information on that. So we are talking about test case creations, test case identifications, and test case management and execution. The other main thing would be the reporting part. KTern does help you in the reporting, in the project dashboard, where you will be prompted with a beautiful visualization of your existing test cases, and you can drill it down to the phase or the subphase and the user as well. So like I said, there could be multiple users involved across test cases, and since with the plan and the actual test cases, we'll be able to find the overdue test cases items as well, so which is key for the entire project health. And here we will have the entire repository of the test cases. As you can see here, this entire repository of test cases will help you manage your entire test case execution. Like I said before, I can drill it down by modules or uh, the business processes, so that I know what I'm dealing with and how far the execution is and what are the status items against each test cases and things like that. So I would like to conclude the webinar right now, and I think the questions tab will be opened out. Okay, before the questions, let us have a poll now, which says, do you want a full guided demo of KTern? You've got two options, yes or no. Okay, so here the first question is, can I download test cases already available in Excel or Word? So I believe you mentioned about I assume you already have a list of test cases or the archive of test cases already, and you would like to have it uploaded into KTern so that you can have you managed with it. Yes, KTern will be you will be able to upload the test cases using the auto import functionality, which we'll be able to cover in person with you, since because it is more of a premium version feature which we give for the customers as well as the system integrators. Yes, the answer is you will be able to upload or even download the test cases available either in either in KTern, or you can upload it if you manually have them. Yes. So, gentlemen, if you have any questions, please do let me know so that I'll be happy to answer. So, I think the other question would be, how is KTern different from the other testing tools in the market? Okay, thanks for this question. A very interesting question as well. So, what other tools or other market providers do is execution of the test cases or the management of the test cases, be it HP ALM, which is more on the management part, and KTern does provide the management part. In addition to that, we provide the auto recommendations and the auto executions of the test cases, which, to my knowledge, so far has not been done by any other market player yet. Yes. So KTern will be able to connect to your landscape during the discover phase, which is what would have been covered during the impact analysis, where we will be hitting the system and we'll be extracting info from the system. And based on the info collected, we'll be able to create a plan, a scenario, and a test case, which we saw during the webinar. And this will be auto created for you based on your system configurations. say your extensive usage of VA01 transaction will trigger a plan under order to cash, and you'll be getting sale order creations, and under which you'll be having multiple test cases for this creation of sale order, which will be based, and the test data will be based on the sampling of your master information, your sale organization, your distribution channels, and these will be sampled out, and you'll be having multiple different test cases for this one particular transaction. So this is something which will help you tackle the unavailability of the business process documents, which was given as the major challenge in testing during this webinar. Yes, here's how KTern differentiates from the other market providers by coming up with auto test case recommendations as well as auto executions. Okay, so thank you for your question. If the same test case is assigned to two different resources, then whose response will get stored? Example 1. Resource 1 executed test case first and failed, and resource 2 executed after that and passed. Thanks for this question. And for this to answer, I would go back to the screen where we had the test wizard, where people will be able to have test cases, and the collaboration lab which we saw will help you manage different stakeholders at different points of time. You're talking about executions, which means people will be able to have multiple executions against one particular test case, and that particular test case can be recorded. Let me just go back to the screen. Yes. So the test execution log. So here's a screen which comes into the play. So the test execution log will take care of multiple execution recordings, be it from the stakeholder 1, stakeholder 2, up until stakeholder n. N number of people can record their execution logs in here, and they will be able to select the test script and have the recording done. So whatever recording done by one particular resource stays as is, as well as the other resource. And the final the final test execution act as a primary factor on whether the test case passed or failed. How KTern is different from Panaya? So to answer this particular question, I think the answer I gave before, how KTern is different from other market tools, would have answered, but yet still I will go furthermore. And typically Panaya works on a record and play feature, which is also provided by KTern, where you can record a particular scenario. Maybe a GUI, your SAP GUI can be recorded using KTern, and you can have n number of test data against this particular recording, so that KTern auto executes using our RPA platform and have it recorded. Yes, it is not about auto recommendations management, which you see in here. It is also about auto execution and record and play feature. This record and play feature will help you record a GUI transaction which you want to record. All you have to do is click a record button and go back to your GUI system and create a transaction process, which will be recorded by our RPA tool. And this recording script can be loaded into KTern remotely, and you can have multiple test data against this particular RPA item, and this will help you auto execute n number of scenarios and n number of transactions against this particular recording which you did, so that you can have it automated. Which scripting language is used for automation? That's an interesting question to ask. So we go based on the GUI scripting, and maybe more information on this can be taken up as a different call, I suppose. Thanks for this question. All right. So I see another question in here which talks about how is KTern different from what SAP suggests, the SAP tool on the impact analysis. Though this is a different question out of context, but I would like to address the same in here. So what SAP provides is what SAP is aware of or is afraid of. It would be things like what S4HANA needs and what S4HANA wants and what S4HANA provides. But KTern goes beyond that and it will address the challenges on the ground. It will say how how a project has to be executed at the later stages of the thing by providing the training recommendations as well as the test recommendation. Is it mainly a test management tool? No, sir. KTern is not a test management tool. It is an end-to-end suite of multiple other modules. Maybe the automation factor is minimal in this particular demo, but it doesn't stop here. We come up with auto execution items as well as record and play items, as well as auto recommendation items and the defect creations as well. How do you do automated testing? Can KTern connect to SAP system? Thank you so much. Thanks for this question. Yes, KTern will be able to connect to the SAP systems. We have something called the landscape management, where you will be able to add different landscapes or the ECC systems, which can be added up in here. As you can see, I have multiple systems configured, and all you need to do is download the KTern connector, which will install a 5 MB file on your desktop. You're good to go. All you need now is an RFC user, a RFC communication protocol user who can run this particular KTern. And once everything goes fine, you're all set and you'll be able to connect KTern to your system and have the results executed. Does KTern support SAP and non-SAP applications both? The answer would be no, because KTern is built for S4HANA transformations, and the test management part is only focused on SAP systems, and we don't cover the non-SAP systems. Of course, the web-based testing can be considered for theory of applications, but for exclusively for non-SAP applications, no, we don't. So while I'm here in the screen, so this is the place where I'll be able to configure different systems against KTern, and which will help KTern connect to your system and execute results. So if there is no last set of questions, I think we can close the webinar. So we will have a mail, we will have the recording of this entire webinar mailed to you, and post which, if in case you have any questions or if in case you are more interested in understanding the automation capabilities of KTern in test suite management, we can always get on a call, and our team will always be available for that.